The sterile hospital room is quiet, save for the soft hum of machines and the rhythmic beep of a heart monitor. Suddenly, a baby's cry shatters the silence, piercing the air with an urgency that feels like it's meant for him. Marcus Fletcher, in his early 30s, stands frozen at the door, eyes wide, heart pounding in his chest. He had come to visit a colleague, but this wasn't what he expected. "Isn't she beautiful?" a nurse asks, her voice soft but filled with warmth. Marcus doesn't reply, the words catching in his throat as he stares down at the tiny bundle in her arms. She gently shifts the baby toward him, and that's when he sees it, the name on the clipboard beside the cradle. His name, his blood, his daughter. His mind reels with confusion, disbelief, and terror. "How is this possible?" he whispers, his voice shaking as if he might crumble under the weight of this impossible truth. The nurse smiles, oblivious to the turmoil churning in his chest, and says the words that will haunt him forever. "She's yours." Marcus Fletcher sits frozen, his mind reeling. The nurse's calm voice feels distant as she explains the adoption process. "You'll need to sign the forms," she says. "Adoption?" He stares at the baby, confusion and disbelief flooding his chest. "I didn't know about her," he mutters, his voice trembling. The baby in the bassinet looks so small, so innocent. His daughter, though he had no idea she existed. His mind screams for answers, but there's only one certainty. She's his responsibility now. "How is this possible?" Marcus asks, his voice barely audible. The nurse explains that the birth mother signed over her rights, leaving Marcus as the baby's only viable parent. "I didn't want this," he whispers, feeling trapped in a situation he never expected. His mind races, torn between the child's innocence and the heavy weight of responsibility that now belongs to him. Dr. Reynolds enters and explains that the paperwork is ready for Marcus's signature. "You're her only parent now," he says. Marcus struggles to process the words. He never asked for this child, never knew her existence. His world has been shaken, but the child is his responsibility now. "What do I do?" he asks, his voice broken. The doctor reassures him, but Marcus can only focus on the tiny life in the bassinet. "I can't do this," Marcus whispers, face buried in his hands. Dr. Reynolds places a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "You're not alone," he says. But Marcus feels isolated, the weight of parenthood crashing down on him. The baby in the bassinet lies unaware of the emotional storm brewing in the room. Marcus looks at her. He's her father now, whether he's ready or not. Marcus Fletcher sits at a small kitchen table, his coffee long gone cold, staring out the window, as if waiting for an answer. His phone vibrates again, his partner, Claire, calling. She had been distant since the news of the baby broke. The conversation they had earlier feels like a blur. She had asked him, "Are you even going to fight for her?" It was the only question she seemed to care about, and now, standing in the stillness of the kitchen, Marcus can't even answer. His hands tremble as he presses the phone to his ear. "Marcus, we need to talk." Claire's voice crackles through the line, cold and distant. His heart races, but there's a sharp edge to her tone. They've both been walking around the truth like it's a landmine, afraid to say too much too soon. But he knows this conversation won't be like the others. The baby's existence is shattering everything between them. As Marcus listens, his mind drifts to the life he once had. Can he really abandon the baby? Can he walk away from his future? Claire's voice on the phone cuts through Marcus's thoughts. "I'm not sure how much longer I can keep pretending like this isn't real," she says, her words sharp. "You've been distant, Marcus. You can't pretend it didn't happen. This baby changes everything." His throat tightens, the words a blow he wasn't prepared for. "We didn't plan this. We didn't even get the chance to discuss it," he replies, his voice strained. Claire sighs on the other end, a sound filled with resignation. "We've been living in separate worlds for months, Marcus. You never wanted a family, and now you're forced to be one. You're stuck with that child whether you like it or not." Her words sting, and Marcus knows she's right. He feels cornered. The weight of responsibility threatens to crush him. "I'm not running from this," he whispers, but even he isn't sure of the truth in his own voice. Can he truly accept what he's been given, or will the pressure tear him apart? After the call, Marcus can't sit still. His thoughts swirl, each one more chaotic than the last. His apartment, once a place of refuge, now feels like a cage. The baby is still at the hospital, and every moment that passes, the more the weight of his decision presses down. He grabs his jacket, steps out the door, and walks aimlessly down the street. The cool evening air hits him like a slap. He moves through the world as if it's happening to someone else. He's torn between two lives, the one he had before, free and independent, and the one that's now thrust upon him, responsibility, fatherhood, and all the fear that comes with it. A small voice in his mind tells him to keep walking, to keep running. But deep down, he knows that escape isn't possible. As he walks, he feels the harsh truth. He's already made a choice. And now, he's walking toward the consequences. The next morning, Marcus arrives at the hospital, his heart pounding in his chest. The bright, sterile lights of the lobby do nothing to calm his nerves. He walks past the nurse's station, his footsteps heavy with uncertainty. The baby's room is just down the hall. But Marcus hesitates. The thought of walking into that room, into the reality of his future, is terrifying. He never thought he would be here, standing on the threshold of a responsibility he never imagined. His heart races as he steps closer. Each breath feels like it might be his last before stepping into the unknown. When he finally pushes open the door, the sight of the baby in the bassinet is overwhelming. She's so small, so innocent, and yet everything about her feels like a reflection of the future he never wanted. The nurse smiles at him, but Marcus can't return the smile. His eyes lock with the baby's, and for a moment he sees his own reflection in her face. This is his life now, and there's no turning back. The nurse hands Marcus the paperwork, her voice gentle but firm. "She's yours now, Mr. Fletcher. If you're ready, we can start the process." His hand shakes as he takes the documents, but his mind is a blur. He doesn't feel ready. How could anyone be ready for this? As he looks at the paperwork, his eyes blur with unshed tears. He never wanted this, never even dreamed it was possible. Yet here he is, standing in a hospital room, about to become a father. The weight of it presses down on him, suffocating him. "I can't just walk away from her," he murmurs under his breath, not sure if the words are a promise or a plea. The nurse smiles faintly, as if she's heard these words many times before. But for Marcus, it feels like the first time he's truly understood the enormity of his decision. The baby is his now. No matter how much he wants to run, he can't escape her. Marcus stands at his mother's front door, his knuckles white from gripping the handle. He knows the conversation will be painful, but it's necessary. As soon as his mother opens the door, her eyes narrow with disapproval. "I heard about the baby," she says, her voice sharp. Marcus nods, feeling a lump form in his throat. "I don't know how to fix this," he admits, his voice breaking slightly. "You can't fix it, Marcus," his mother responds coldly, stepping aside to let him in. "You can only face it." They sit at the kitchen table, and his mother's gaze is filled with judgment. "You've always been careless," she continues. "Now you have a child to raise." Marcus looks down at his hands, feeling the weight of her words. His mother, once his biggest supporter, now seems like an adversary. She says things that cut deep, but Marcus can't deny them. "I don't know what to do," he says again, his voice barely a whisper. His mother's silence only adds to the tension. The only sound is the ticking of the kitchen clock, marking the moments where their worlds continue to drift further apart. Later, Marcus tries to talk to Claire again. Why? His apartment feels even smaller now, crowded with unanswered questions. Claire is sitting on the couch, staring at her phone, avoiding his gaze. "I thought you'd want to be part of this," he says, his voice rising in frustration. "You've been pulling away, Marcus," Claire replies without looking up. "I can't do this alone. I'm not asking you to," he insists, desperation creeping into his voice. "But you're not with me, Claire. You're not here." Claire looks up at him, her eyes filled with both anger and hurt. "What do you want me to say?" she asks, shaking her head. "This isn't just about us anymore, Marcus. It's about the baby." Her words hang in the air, thick with truth. He wants to argue, but there's nothing left to say. The baby is a reality they both have to face, but Marcus doesn't know how to bridge the growing distance between him and Claire. The silence between them speaks louder than words ever could. Marcus is back at the hospital, standing outside the nursery, watching the baby through the glass. The weight of the decision is starting to feel real. The nurse who had been taking care of the baby approaches him. "She's been asking for you," she says gently. Marcus's chest tightens. He can't do this. He doesn't know how to be a father. "I never imagined this," he whispers, mostly to himself. The nurse nods, understanding. "You don't have to know everything right now, just start by being there." But Marcus isn't sure he can. As he stands there staring at the baby, something shifts inside him. He's scared, but he also knows he can't walk away. There's no escaping the responsibility, no turning back. The reality of fatherhood is settling in and Marcus isn't ready, but for the first time he's considering stepping up. Marcus stands in the doorway of his apartment, holding a bag of groceries. Claire is on the couch, her eyes red from crying. "I don't know how to do this, Marcus," she says, voice cracking. He steps inside, dropping the bag on the counter. "Neither do I," he admits, his voice low and filled with regret. "But we can't just pretend it isn't happening." Claire looks at him, her face filled with uncertainty. "You've been so distant, so unsure. I need you to be with me in this." Marcus steps closer, sitting down beside her. "I don't know how to be a father," he says quietly, "but I know I can't walk away." Claire's eyes soften, though there's still pain in them. "Then show me," she whispers. The weight of her words hits him hard. He has to start showing up, not just for her, but for the child they are both responsible for now. The decision is made. Marcus walks into the hospital room with a bag in hand, a new sense of resolve in his step. He approaches the bassinet, where the baby lies, still and peaceful. He gently reaches out and picks her up for the first time. The weight of her in his arms is overwhelming. "I don't know how to do this, little one," he whispers, his voice shaky. But he doesn't pull away. He holds her close, feeling the warmth of her tiny body against his chest. For the first time, he feels something he can't name. Something close to love. Something close to responsibility. "I'm here now," he promises, his voice barely audible. The nurse watches from the doorway, but she doesn't say anything. Marcus knows this is the beginning of a journey he never expected, but he's finally ready to start it. Marcus sits in his apartment, his hands gripping the edge of the coffee table. The weight of the decision presses down on him as he processes what he just learned. His past, his identity, the truth he never expected. His mind races. Phone call from his sister earlier, the one he tried to ignore, now echoes in his mind. "You need to know the truth, Marcus. You're not the only one." His stomach churns. His world has always felt just slightly off, but now it's as if everything is falling apart. He picks up his phone, dialing the number his sister gave him. The voice on the other end is unfamiliar, but oddly calming. "Yes, Marcus, I know who you are. I'm your real father." The words hit him like a punch to the gut. His breath catches in his throat. "What are you talking about?" he manages to say. The voice, calm and steady, continues. "You were never meant to know this, but the truth is you're not Marcus Fletcher." The revelation shatters his understanding of everything. What was real? What did he really know? His pulse quickens, his thoughts scattered, but all he can hear is that voice, and the knowledge that his life has been a lie. Marcus stands at the door of his childhood home, the place where he grew up, but everything feels different now. The truth about his identity weighs on him, and the people inside the house seem like strangers. He's nervous, his hands shaking as he rings the doorbell. His half-sister answers, her eyes wary but soft with recognition. "I knew you'd come," she says quietly, motioning for him to come in. As they sit down, she explains everything. Their father, the lies, the secret that Marcus was never meant to know. "You've been living someone else's life, Marcus," she says. Her words feel like daggers. Marcus doesn't know how to process the flood of information. But I don't understand," he whispers, his voice cracking. "Why didn't anyone tell me?" She looks at him with a mixture of pity and frustration. "Because we were trying to protect you. But now the truth has to come out." The room is heavy with the tension of long-buried secrets coming to light. What? Marcus feels like a ghost in his own life, unable to find solid ground. Marcus returns to his apartment, unable to shake the gravity of the truth. His hands tremble as he places the keys on the counter. The door slams behind him, and he stands still for a moment, staring at the empty room. He thought he knew who he was, but now he doesn't even recognize himself. His phone buzzes again. Another message from Claire, asking if he's okay. He hasn't answered her calls, hasn't been able to. He's caught between the life he's always known, and the one he now realizes was never his to begin with. He throws himself onto the couch, feeling the weight of betrayal. By his family, by himself, and by the life he thought was his. His phone buzzes again, a call from Claire. This time he answers. "I don't know who I am anymore," he says, his voice low. Claire's response is softer than he expects. "We'll figure this out together," she says. But Marcus knows the truth now. Nothing will ever be the same again. The next day, Marcus sits at the kitchen table, staring at the papers in front of him. Adoption papers, legal documents. His life feels like it's been reduced to a stack of paperwork he's too afraid to sign. Claire's at the counter silently making coffee. "You need to decide, Marcus," she says, her tone firm but gentle. "The longer you wait, the more you're hurting her." Marcus doesn't respond immediately, the weight of his decision too heavy to bear. "I don't know if I can be what she needs," he whispers. "I don't know if I can be a father." Claire walks over, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You don't have to be perfect. You just have to show up." Her words hang in the air as Marcus stares at the adoption papers. His future feels like it's on the line, but with Claire's steady support, he begins to see a way forward. It won't be easy, but for the first time, Marcus feels a glimmer of hope. Marcus enters the courtroom, his heart racing as the doors close behind him. His hand trembles as he grips the folder with the adoption papers. He had never imagined it would come to this, facing the truth of his own past while deciding the future of his daughter. He sits down in the hard chair, his gaze fixed on the judge. The baby's future depends on this moment. The judge calls the court to order, and Marcus feels the weight of every pair of eyes on him. His stomach churns. As the proceedings begin, Marcus finds himself at the edge of the decision he knows he must make. He can't go back now, not after everything he's learned. When it's his turn to speak, his voice is steady, though his heart pounds in his chest. "I am her father," he declares, looking directly at the judge. "And I'll fight for her." The words feel like a promise, not just to the judge, but to the child he's still learning to love. Marcus walks into the hospital room, his heart pounding in his chest. He looks down at the baby, now awake in her bassinet, her small eyes blinking up at him. The weight of fatherhood is more real than ever, and for the first time, he feels ready. "I'm here now," he whispers. It's a promise, a silent vow to this little girl who has already changed his life in ways he never expected. He picks her up carefully, feeling the warmth of her tiny body against his chest. The room is quiet, except for the soft beeping of the monitors and the baby's gentle cooing. Marcus closes his eyes for a moment, breathing in her scent, realizing that everything he feared, all the doubt, is slowly fading. This is his responsibility now, but it's more than just a burden. It's a chance for something new, something beautiful. The weeks pass, and Marcus starts to find a rhythm. The hospital visits, the late nights, the endless questions, all of it becomes part of his routine. He begins to see the tiny, imperfect moments of joy. The way the baby's hand curls around his finger, the soft sounds of her laughter. But the reality still lingers in the background. The pressure to be perfect, to be the father she deserves, is overwhelming. One evening, as he watches her sleep, his phone buzzes, a message from Claire. "How are you doing?" it reads. He doesn't respond immediately, unsure of what to say. But as he looks at the baby, his heart swells with a sense of purpose. He might not have all the answers, but he knows one thing: he's not alone in this. Slowly, he starts to believe that maybe, just maybe, he can be the father she needs. The day of the court hearing arrives. Marcus stands at the front, his hands clenched by his sides. He's been waiting for this moment, but now that it's here, his nerves are at their peak. His lawyer speaks on his behalf, presenting his case, but Marcus can barely focus. His mind is consumed with one thought: what if I'm not enough? The judge looks down at him, waiting for his statement. Marcus steps forward, his voice shaking at first. "I know I'm not perfect," he says, "but I'm trying. I'm here. I want to be her father, and I'll fight for her, no matter what." The words feel heavy as they leave his mouth, but they also feel like a turning point. He's finally accepting the responsibility, embracing it fully, even though it scares him. The room goes silent, and for the first time, Marcus feels a glimmer of hope. The court session is over, and Marcus stands outside, feeling the cool air against his face. The decision is pending, but he feels strangely calm. He knows that no matter what happens, he has given everything he has. Claire calls, and for the first time in weeks, he answers. "I'm doing okay," he says, his voice steady. "I've been fighting for her." Claire's voice softens, a smile in her tone. "I'm proud of you, Marcus," she says. "You're doing it. You're showing up." He closes his eyes, feeling the weight of her words settle on his heart. Maybe he can't fix everything, but he can be there. For the first time, Marcus allows himself to believe that he's capable of being the father his daughter deserves. The judge's decision finally arrives. Marcus sits in the small office, his lawyer beside him. The words hit him like a wave. "The child is yours. You are now her legal guardian." Marcus blinks, feeling the flood of emotions wash over him. Relief, joy, fear. For the first time, he truly feels like a father. He doesn't know what the future holds, but he knows he'll face it with the baby by his side. His life, once so uncertain, is now filled with purpose. "I'm her father," he whispers to himself. The weight of the decision, the responsibility, all of it falls into place. His journey has only just begun, but Marcus knows that he will do whatever it takes to protect her, to love her, and to be the father she deserves. Marcus stands in front of his apartment window, looking out at the city below. The world feels smaller now, quieter. His phone rings. Claire again. He answers this time, his voice steady but unsure. "I'm doing okay," he says. "The baby's finally settled." Claire's voice comes through the phone, soft and warm. "I knew you could do it," she says, the pride in her voice clear. "You're not alone in this anymore." Marcus's heart lifts slightly, but the weight of fatherhood still presses on him. "I'm still figuring it out," he replies, looking down at the photo of his daughter on the mantel. His world has shifted, and though he's not sure of everything, he knows one thing: he's not turning back. "I'm doing this for her," he adds quietly, a sense of resolve settling in. It's a Saturday morning, and Marcus walks through the park with his daughter in his arms. She's sleeping peacefully, a soft smile on her face. He watches other parents around him, mothers, fathers, some of them smiling, some lost in their own thoughts. Marcus wonders if they feel the same weight, the same fear of not being enough. But as he looks down at his daughter, her tiny, trusting face, the doubts fade. "I'm here," he whispers to her, his voice filled with quiet tenderness. "I'm not going anywhere." The promise settles in his chest, a new sense of purpose filling the space where his fear once lived. Later that day, Marcus sits in a cafe, the baby in her stroller beside him. Claire walks in, her expression softer than it's been in weeks. She sits down across from him, her eyes lingering on the baby. "She's growing up fast," Claire says, a faint smile on her face. "Yeah, she is," Marcus replies, his voice warm but filled with a quiet tension. There's a silence between them, but it's not as heavy as before. I'm still scared, Claire, Marcus admits, his voice low. I don't always know what I'm doing. Claire reaches across the table, placing her hand on his. No one does, Marcus, but you're doing your best. The words are simple, but they settle in Marcus' heart. For the first time in a long while, he feels less alone. The days blur into one another, but something has shifted. Marcus now moves through his life with a steady rhythm. He's no longer just surviving, he's living. The fear is still there, lurking in the background, but it no longer controls him. He looks down at the baby, now starting to reach out and grab at things, and he smiles. You're changing me, he whispers to her, the words filled with gratitude. I thought I couldn't do this, but I'm doing it for you. The realization settles over him like a warm embrace. He's her father now, and no matter what happens, he will always be there. Marcus sits in the living room, the baby now asleep in her crib. He takes a deep breath, the weight of everything he's been through finally sinking in. He's done it. He's fought for her, and he's still standing. The phone rings again. It's Claire. I'm proud of you, Marcus, she says, her voice soft. You've come so far. Marcus doesn't know what to say, but he doesn't need to say much. He's made it through the hardest part. I couldn't have done it without you, he says quietly. The words feel heavy with meaning, with truth. He's not perfect, but he's learned to love, to fight, and to never give up. We're a family now, he adds. A quiet finality to the statement. The sun is setting as Marcus walks through the park, the cool evening air brushing against his face. His daughter, now a little older, sits in her stroller, giggling as the wind tousles her hair. The weight of the past months, the struggles, the doubts, feels lighter now. His phone buzzes, and he checks it. A text from Claire. How's she doing? Marcus smiles, his heart swelling with pride. She's perfect, he replies, his fingers hovering over the keyboard before he adds, We're doing great. For the first time, he's not just going through the motions. He's living the life he never expected, but always needed. With each step, he feels more grounded, more sure of the path ahead. I'm proud of us, he whispers to his daughter, the words floating in the air between them like a promise. At home, Marcus stands in the doorway of his daughter's room, watching her sleep. The soft glow of the nightlight illuminates her tiny face, and Marcus feels a pang of emotion he can't quite explain. The journey has been anything but easy, but looking at her now, he feels something he never thought he would, complete. I'll protect you, he whispers to the stillness of the room. His heart beats with certainty. The chaos of the past is finally quieting, replaced by something more enduring. Love. He knows there will still be challenges, still moments of fear and doubt, but they are no longer his enemies. He's ready for whatever comes next. For her. For them. Marcus sits on the couch, his daughter resting in his lap. Thought. Claire sits next to him, her head leaning on his shoulder. Their hands are intertwined, and for the first time in a long while, the silence between them is comfortable. I was so scared, Marcus admits, his voice barely above a whisper. I didn't know how to do any of this. Claire looks up at him, her eyes soft. You're doing it, Marcus. Every day, you're doing it. He smiles, the weight of the years lifting off his shoulders. We're doing this together, he says, his voice steady now, filled with conviction. The family he never thought he would have is finally here, and he's ready to embrace it fully. As the months pass, Marcus continues to navigate his new life as a father. The days are filled with laughter, frustration, and quiet moments of joy. One evening, he finds himself in the park again, this time watching his daughter play with other children. He's no longer the man who doubted himself, the one who feared failure. The man standing in the park now is stronger, more confident. I'm doing it, he whispers to himself, a smile tugging at his lips. His daughter runs toward him, her small legs carrying her with surprising speed. She stops in front of him, giggling. Daddy, she says, her voice a melody. Marcus reaches out to scoop her into his arms, the love he feels for her overwhelming. In this moment, he knows there's nothing he wouldn't do for her. It's late at night and Marcus stands at the window, looking out at the city below. His daughter is asleep in her crib, and the house is quiet. He reflects on the journey, the fear, the uncertainty, and the love that changed everything. "I never wanted this," he whispers, his voice thick with emotion. "But now, I can't imagine life without her." His heart feels full, and the future, once uncertain, now seems filled with endless possibilities. The love he has for his daughter is unshakable, and no matter what challenges arise, he knows he will face them. Knowing he's already made it through the hardest part, he's become the father he never thought he could be.